Hey, you're listening to Rising into Mindful Motherhood. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Wood. I'm a barefoot mama bear, pharmacist, integrative fertility health coach, and lover of all things nature and animals. I'm on a mission to have intentional conversations about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. My mindful guests and I will be talking about struggles, wins, natural wellness, and how we grow and transform as we enter motherhood. My background in healthcare has shown me how broken our medical system is. My own struggles to become pregnant has shown the lack of support for mamas to be, the lack of guidance for women to have a nourishing and vibrant pregnancy, the isolation, mom guilt, and all the things we hold after bringing baby earthside. I want this platform to be a place where women can feel connected, safe, and supported to share and hear their stories. A place to use our voice to discuss and advocate about what we need and deserve as mothers. So let's dive in, shall we? Hello and welcome to Rising into Mindful Motherhood. For our conversation today, I'll be chatting with Emma. She is a mother of two, and she'll be sharing today about her loss and her fertility journey. Welcome, Emma. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hi.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? I mean, it sounds to me like you had a fertility journey that you went through initially.
Yeah, so in 2010, I decided to try for a baby. And I just thought it would be easy, that I would fall pregnant pretty much straight away. And then the months went by and nothing was happening. So I'd try to do a bit of research, look into vitamins, tablets, things that I needed to try. So I tried all of them and nothing worked. But in the UK, if you're under a certain age, then you've got to wait 2 years before you can get any sort of help from your GP or doctors, or get any investigations to why you're not falling pregnant. So them 2 years were really, really bad. My periods were all over the place because of contraception that I took in the past, and then they just kind of tried to fob me off, saying that it was my body getting back to normal. I was going back and forth to the doctors, but they really weren't listening. They just kind of said, you've got to wait the 2 years. So it was really, really hard. Every month you thought it was going to be this month, you will look out for signs. But Mother Nature's a bit deceitful, because early pregnancy symptoms and period symptoms are quite similar, where you do get the similar symptoms. So it's really deceiving, and every month when you didn't get the positive result, or you had your period, it was devastating. It was another kick in the teeth, really. So the 2 years had passed. Then I went to the doctors. I had to get some fertility treatments, get some internal examinations done, and they couldn't find anything why I wasn't falling pregnant. There was no endometriosis. There was no issues with my ovaries or anything else. So we had a meeting with the doctors, and I had to have some fertility tablets first. And then if they didn't work, then I'd have to go through the IVF route, because I just didn't know why I was falling. So I got 3 months of the fertility treatment, and the fertility tablets worked on the last round. So I was glad that they worked on the last round, because I didn't want to go through the whole IVF process and then wait even longer. So I fell pregnant, and pregnancy was absolutely fine. There was no issues. There was low dependency. All scans and everything was brilliant. Then my waters broke in 2014. And then went to the hospital, got checked over, monitor, everything was fine, heartbeat was strong, there was no issues. It was in the middle of the night that my waters went, and the midwives that were on shift that night, they kind of felt a bit dismissive, because they were like, well, we can do this, but it's up to you. So it was kind of, yeah, we can do this, but so I felt like they didn't really want to do it. And I thought, oh, with everything that I've gone through, with all the fertility treatments, with everything like that, I said, this is just going to be, it's just going to be normal. So I did say to them that I was a bit concerned about my bleeding, but they just kind of, again, fobbed me off. I think it was because it was in the middle of the night. So I went home, and then the bleeding got worse, and went back in, and then tried to find a heartbeat, but there was just no heartbeat. So I had to give birth to her. That was horrendous. I think when she was born, it was the silence that was really, really, I remember the silence, because there was no mad rush or panic. You know, when you see it on the TV where people have a baby and there's a bit of a panic to get the baby sorted and things like that. I remember the silence, and then it was kind of, right, okay then. So then the midwife that I had, she treated her as if she was okay and if she was alive, because she measured her, she weighed her, she done everything that you would have done if she had survived. So I had a post-mortem done, and she had a velamentous cord. So it's quite rare. I think it's 1 in 600 or something, 1 in 6,000. I can't remember what the proper statistics are, but it is quite rare. So what happens is, when the cord doesn't go all the way in the placenta. So when I was pregnant, it was sufficient. Everything was as it should. It's really, really hard to be picked up on scan, so that's why it got missed. So the placenta went through the cord went through the first bit of the placenta. So when my waters broke and the contraction started and the pressure, that's what happened, and the cord come away. I'm lucky in a way, because I have an answer. A lot of people that have miscarriage or lose a baby don't get an answer. So in one aspect, I am lucky, because I do have them answers, but it doesn't make it any easier. So that was that. Then obviously we had to go through all of that, and then it was the thought of going through the fertility treatment again, because I had to do with my first daughter. It was the dread and the anxiety of having to go through the process again, of having the fertility treatments, the possibility of IVF. So it was added, not just the loss of my daughter, it was future pregnancies. Is it going to be the same? Am I going to have fertility treatment? Is it going to work? Is it not? So it was kind of that anxiety of it all as well that didn't help, because I remembered and I know how hard it was the first time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, and I can only imagine how frustrating that felt when it felt like they were dismissing you.
Yeah.
The first time in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I kind of felt like I was doing them a bit of a favour, because I've worked nights and I know what nights are like, so I kind of felt like I was doing them a favour, and I was bothering them. Not bothering them is probably the wrong word, but like I said, I've done nights before, and it's kind of supposed to be a bit easier. Yeah, you've got to stay up through the night, but it's a little bit easier. So I thought, I'll go home, come back later on in the morning, at a more reasonable time. there was a time when I thought I should go back in. I remember as I was walking out the hospital, I thought I'm gonna go back in, and then I thought, oh no, I'll just leave it. I'll just go home. And then I wish I did, because it might be different. It might not. I don't know, but that's kind of something that I do keep with me, as if, could it have been different if I'd have gone back in, or if I'd have pushed a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sad, and it's too bad that they had to put you in that position, you know, to have you feel like you are inconveniencing them when that is their job at the end of the day.
Yeah, and even when I went in before, because in my other pregnancies, I was classed as high dependent, but when I went in, there was still, until they knew my story and what had happened, they were still dismissive. So I remember going in, they were like, "What's the problem?" I go, "I just haven't felt it for a while." Oh well, and I was like, "Well, no." And then as soon as I mentioned my story, their attitude changed. So for me, I just think your attitude shouldn't change. Your attitude, if someone comes in and they're concerned, then you should treat them as it's normal. And I just think if midwives do that, how many people, babies, could they help? Is if people go in concerned and they go home, drink Lucozade, lay on your side, have a bath, do this, do that. If they'd have just take 10, 15 minutes to check baby's heartbeat, put people's mind at rest, then some it might be picked up, some it might not be, but you don't know. And I just think it's a bit, takes 10, 15 minutes, you lay on the bed, you get the monitor, and then it just, for me, it's just one of them things where it shouldn't be a chore. You just do it.
Yeah, better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and I just think midwives, they do kind of just think, oh, I've done this for ages, so I know what I'm doing. We parents don't, or mothers don't. And I just think I kind of got that impression when I went in. Because after my daughter died and the treatment and that I got, I did put a complaint into the hospital. And one of the comments, it was, I had a meeting with the midwife manager, and she said, oh, we all get complacent in our jobs. And I was like, I do. I said, but I'm not in charge of lives. I'm not in charge of something so precious and so small. If I felt complacent in my job and I had that responsibility, I'd feel like I wouldn't. You don't do it. If you do feel like that, then you need to find another job. You need to find a job where you do feel a bit more, where you've got that enthusiasm, where you've got that passion. So if you lose the passion, then you need to leave, I think.
Wow, that is quite the answer to give someone.
Yeah, and especially with what I went through. So that sticks with me as well.
And
that she said that.
What did you do to kind of help yourself recover after all of that? I mean, emotionally, physically, so many things.
I can't really remember being in physical pain. I can't remember feeling poorly or feeling ill or having any pains. I don't know if the grief took over and I didn't feel any pain. I don't know if that was why. But emotionally, I just kind of went into autopilot, because she was in the hospital for a couple of days before she went for a postmortem. So I would go, it was kind of a routine where I'd get up, get dressed, go to the hospital, and would spend time with her. I'd change her, family and friends had come. took her outside, took photos, tried to create memories. So that was kind of the focus of it. I think I spent about 5 or 6 days in the room with her. So she would go back on the ward and I would go home, then people would come and visit, and she'd be in a cold cot. So she didn't deteriorate as fast as what she would have. Then she went for a postmortem, and I got advised after the postmortem it's probably not the best to see her again. So I remember being in the room and I looked at her and I was like, it was weird when she first come out. She didn't look the best. Then she started to look better, and then after a couple of days, and she just started to deteriorate. So she kind of like went up and down. And I remember looking and I just think, oh, it's time to go. And I just thought I'd make that decision, and then that was it. So kind of told everybody, and then we left. And I remember leaving and it not being, I don't know where I got my strength from to leave, but I did. And it was, I don't know where I got the strength from to leave. And then we had a funeral, got her cremated. So I didn't want to bury her. I wanted her to be with me. So I've got a tattoo and it's got her ashes in.
That's such a difficult thing to go through, and something that I wish no one ever had to go through. So I know you mentioned you have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So were they born after this?
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you feel ready to start trying again? What did that look like for you?
I wanted to start pretty much straight away because I felt like my body had failed, so I kind of wanted it to work properly again. Like I'd never ever wanted to replace her to get over it, because I never ever will. But it was kind of like to prove everybody that it was it's a bit hard to explain, but it was kind of like it was a competition with myself to get pregnant as quick as I can, as fast as I can, and this to get it right, because I'd failed the first time and I wasn't going to fail again. So it was kind of pretty much straight away that I tried. And that was really frustrating because she died in September, and it wasn't until the February time that I actually fell. Looking back, I'm glad it took that long, because we'd had the funeral, we'd had the complaint, so there was a lot of stuff going on. I just think if I'd fell pregnant after 6 weeks, and then I'd put the complaint in, and then because it was back and forth, it wasn't just one meeting, it was back and forth, like correspondence and then meetings, and I think I did about 2 or 3 meetings with them, looked at the paperwork, the minutes, and we had to agree on them. So that was a bit of a long process. So looking back, I'm glad I didn't fall pregnant when I did. Then I wanted to fall pregnant straight away. As soon as I could fall pregnant, I wanted to. And in the moment, every period was another kick in the teeth, and felt determined and got more frustrated and just felt more annoyed and more angry with myself. And then in the February, done a pregnancy test. I didn't tell anybody for a couple of days. Didn't even tell the dad. I wasn't going to tell him until I'd had the first scan. But then I just felt guilty, because I thought it's stupid, really, because I thought if I had for the first scan and everything's fine, then I'll tell him. But something can go wrong at any time. But I just thought, if anything goes wrong in the first 12 weeks or the first scan, no one else will know. So it's kind of, I'd only have to deal with my own grief, not everybody else's. Again, not feel the guilt, not feel the pressure, not feel like I was responsible for everyone's upset, because that's how I felt when she died. I'd upset everybody. My situation had upset everybody, and that was the reason people felt the way they did. So I didn't want to do that again. But I think it was about, didn't last very long. I think it was about 4 or 5 days after I found out that I told him, and then asked him not to tell anybody, but he's got a big mouth. And then he told people, and then people had found out that I didn't want to find out straight away. So kind of had to explain why I'd done what I'd done.
Mm-hmm. And that pregnancy went well, and you had your first daughter?
Yeah, so I had a cesarean. So yeah, I was on high dependency. I think straight away on the scan, the 12-week scan, my cesarean was booked in. And I remember I was about 14 weeks pregnant, and I was at work, and I just got it in my head that she died. That I didn't have no symptoms or anything. I just, when you just think something and you're like, no, it's happened again. So I went to the hospital, got all the way to the hospital, didn't cry, walked through the rooms, seen the receptionist, started crying, and she was like, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Oh, she's dead, I know she has." And then got checked out, and luckily she was fine. But it is that my pregnancy after losing my daughter was horrendous. Hated it, absolutely hated it with a passion. Didn't enjoy any of it. I didn't buy many things. I didn't want to. I didn't really talk about it like I did the first time round. It was kind of, I didn't want to jinx it. So yeah, but luckily my daughter, she was fine. She was born by cesarean, and then the second pregnancy after the daughter so my third pregnancy, it wasn't as bad as my other one, because I'd had a success and everything was fine. It was a little bit easier, but I found out that I was having another girl, and I was gutted. I thought I don't want another girl because I'd lost one. So I thought, if I have it's weird how your mind works and have your rational things. So I thought, if I have a boy, everything will be all right because I've lost a girl. So if I have a boy, then everything's fine. And I remember being in the scan, and she said, "Oh, it's a girl," and she had a smile on her face, and I kind of like, right, okay. And I can remember the sonographer looking at me a bit funny. I don't think she knew why I was a bit funny, but you can't like have to fake, yay, happiness.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I remember not wanting it to be a girl. I wanted a boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that experience that you went through, it's basically PTSD, when you're moving through another pregnancy after you have a tragic loss. I think, like you say, like our brains try to rationalize things. It's like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. We're waiting for something bad to happen, and in a way that's our our subconscious trying to protect us.
Mm.
So we're not, you know, able to enjoy that pregnancy, because then if you enjoy it and then something bad happens, then you're going to get hurt again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense that your third pregnancy was a little bit easier for you, because you had your second daughter. How was that like? What was that like for you to be able to bring your daughter earthside? And was she full term? Did everything?
Yeah, so my waters went at 38 weeks with my first daughter, and then the hospital said I won't go full term, so 37 weeks. That's when I had my cesarean. So I'd never ever went past 38 weeks. I had both of them at 37. Bringing her home, it was hard, because I just thought that she was going to die. I remember one time, do you know the mats that you can put on, the sensor mats that you can put under the cots?
Mm-hmm.
So I had one of them, and I took it out in the pram. So I put the sensor, and then I'm walking around and thinking, but it's pointless, because the movement of the pram is going to think that she's all right. So I thought, so I didn't do that again. I just thought, I was walking around and I was thinking, well, this isn't going to work, because the movement, they're not going to know if she stopped moving because the pram's moving. So I didn't do that again. Yeah, she was in with me. She never slept in my bed, because I panicked and thought I didn't want to roll over or squash her or anything like that. So she had a cot and a Moses basket, with the sensor mat on. And I think she was about 8 or 9 months before she went in a room on her own. And then even then, I would still go in, check her. She had the sensor mat on again, and then I would test it. So I would lay her on a bed, lay her in a cot, with the sensor mat on, and I'd take her out the room, and then see if the sensor mat would work, and then put her back down, and then take her back out. So I'd test that things were working. Didn't let nobody have her. I didn't think nobody could look after her or know what she wanted apart from me, not even a dad. So it was kind of, if people offered to take her out so I could get a break or get a shower or whatever, I'd refuse, because no one could look after her like I could. Nobody knew what she wanted, and I didn't want anyone to take her off me either, just in case, because I just thought, and my mind would go through the scenarios of getting that phone call that something had happened, getting that phone call that she's in hospital, bathing her. I would just have these weird scenarios running through my head. If I'd bathed her, if I fainted, then she would go under the water, and then I'd wait. I've never ever fainted in my life, but these are the types of things that my mind was going through, and thinking of the worst possible case of scenario of what could happen. Like even putting her in a car seat and going in the car, things like that. It was quite bizarre, the thoughts that had, and probably would never happen, and never did happen, but my mind thought it would.
Yeah, I mean, I think as mothers, we go into this like overdrive protective mode, and then I think when you add what you went through, that trauma that you went through, it accentuates it, you know, like tenfold. So I can totally understand where you would have those thoughts, and where you would feel that like extra layer of protection for your child. Absolutely. And how old are your girls now?
7 and 5, so it's a fun age.
Yeah. Awesome. And how are they doing?
They're doing really well. They both go to dancing, so they both enjoy that. They've got a Christmas show coming up, so they're all practicing for that and getting more and more confident in the things that they're doing and wanting to try more.
Mm-hmm. That's really fun. I love. What type of dance?
All of it, lyrical, street, modern, tap, everything, singing, everything.
That's amazing. Now, I know you had mentioned you are a part of a charity, and that's to help raise awareness, to help others who have gone through what you've gone through, and also to educate health professionals about infant loss. Could you tell the audience a little bit more about this charity?
Yeah, so the charity is called Still Parents Teesside. It's based in the UK, the North East. So we hold monthly support groups for families that have lost a baby at any stage. So it could be early miscarriage or stillbirth. So we're all peer mentors. So you can come along to the meetings and chat to us and get a bit of advice and try and think the thoughts and the feelings that you haven't is normal. Pretty much if you mention something of how you're feeling or a thought you'd had, someone else in the group's already is felt that. So it's good because you don't feel like you're odd, that the thoughts and the feelings that you've got are abnormal. It is normal. So we have the monthly support meetings. We try and raise funds, try and raise awareness for baby loss. And we've got a website. We just try and working with the local hospitals, health professionals. So we have meetings with them and give them a bit of advice and guidance. We work with the local university as well. So we'll go there and share our experience of baby loss to midwives in I think it's the 3rd year. So they can get a bit of perspective of what to say, what not to say, how to act, things like that. So yeah, we are only small at the moment, but hopefully after COVID and everything like that, then we can get a little bit more out there and do a lot more.
That's amazing to be able to cultivate that sort of community for something that does happen. It's very sad, but it does happen. And I think when we can talk about it more, we can give people support when they need it. And then also education, that's so important. I think also for especially that, healthcare providers to understand, yes, it might be in the middle of the night, but if you have a mother coming to you and she has concerns, you should trust that she knows her body better than you do as a provider, and give them the benefit of the doubt, because like you said, this is life that we're talking about here. It's not a job where you can be complacent by any means. So I think that that's amazing that you're part of that charity.
No, thank you.
So do you have any final words that you would like to leave for the audience, for anyone listening in that has maybe experienced this before, or just anything, any words of encouragement?
Baby loss or fertility or both?
Anything, whatever's coming up for you right now.
Right. Probably don't lose faith. Looking back in hindsight is probably in that moment in time, it can seem that everything is going wrong, is not as it should be, but trust the process, and it will work out.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think when things happen, you can take them as kind of a way to grow and to learn, and to not lose hope is really important. Whether you're on your fertility journey, or you're struggling postpartum or throughout your pregnancy, to seek support, to seek help, and to definitely not lose hope. I think that's beautiful.
And there is people that have gone through it, so speak out and have that conversation with people. And I think as well it is important to educate people as well of how you're feeling, because your experience, you might think, oh, no one's bothered, or I'm not going to be able to help anybody, but you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story so bravely with us today, Emma. It was a pleasure to have you on today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in today. Make sure you follow and leave a rating so we can connect with more mamas, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rising into Mindful Motherhood podcast. If this episode resonated with you or gave you an aha moment, stop what you're doing right now and write a review. This simple act of kindness helps me get this podcast out to connect with as many women as I possibly can. I also have a special offer. If you send me a screenshot of your review, I will take $250 off one of my premium coaching containers. Let me know what resonated with you the most and why. So connect with me in my free Facebook community or tag me on Instagram. You'll find both listed below. Thanks again from the bottom of my heart for tuning in to this episode, and I'll see you next time.